Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone out this evening. The hour is 6 o'clock is upon us. This is our regularly scheduled City Council meeting for June 18th, 2024. We will begin our meeting tonight with an invocation offered by Jared Decker of the Caldwell First Baptist Church. Jared, there he is, perfect. So if you all please stand for the invocation, and then if you would please remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. Gracious Heavenly Father, I praise and thank you for the opportunity to come before you this evening. I praise you for your goodness and mercy and for your steadfast love, and that you have endured with us another day. In Peter's first letter, you declare through him your intention for government and those in positions of authority. Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be the emperor as supreme or the governors sent to him to punish those who do evil and to praise those who do good. In these verses, you give instructions for the believers on how to live their Christian walk in relation to human authority. I pray specifically for this council meeting and for all those going forward, especially as we gear up for November, that these men and women that you have established would honor you with their word and with their deed, that they would punish evil and promote good amongst the citizens of Caldwell. And I also pray for the believers here in Caldwell to do good, not just for the sake of the act, but because of their love for you. You alone are worthy to be praised. Be present this evening, I pray. And in Jesus' name alone I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much, Mr. Decker, for being here, for offering that invocation. We very much appreciate it. Madam Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Doty.
Here.
Stotty.
Here.
Register. Here. Williams.
Here.
Allgood.
Here.
Dittenberg.
Here. Very good. Thank you so much. Are there any conflict of interest declarations from any members of the council regarding an item on the agenda this evening? Okay, so that moves us into our special presentation. This is our annual update report from the Caldwell Public Library. There's Lacey. Good to see you this evening. Thank you for being here with us tonight.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I appreciate this opportunity to present on behalf of the Library Board of Trustees. And yes, presentations here, so that's great. Thank you. Our trustees for this year are Bonnie Smith, she's our chair, Larry Blackburn, Meg Duruano, Alec Drake, and Rex Hansen. They're a fantastic group to work with, and I very much appreciate their leadership and support. Could we advance the slide, please? Perfect, thank you. I will begin by sharing our organizational chart and our mission, which is to provide services and information to connect, enrich, and inspire our community. We have 18 currently on staff, and with it being summer, we also have 2 part-time positions as well as an intern working for us, or with us rather, for the next few months. So, slide, please. Thank you. All right, so our strategic plan. The plan runs from 2022 to 2025, and I know that I spoke about this in detail with you all a few weeks ago during our budget workshop, so I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I wanted to highlight the areas and goals we've been working on in the last year or so, and those are to strengthen the library's financial sustainability, enhance the library's community engagement efforts, expand our marketing activities to reach more of the community and increase usage, and then finally meet community demand for technology resources. Thank you. All right. And we will start with the first goal here, sustain the library's financial sustainability. Create a diversified funding strategy by identifying new philanthropic partnerships, sponsorships, revenue enhancement opportunities. So that is one of our goals. And we have a Friends of the Library group that fundraises on our behalf. They have a small book corner in the library, and they also have book sales. Their next book sale is actually this coming Friday and Saturday. So if you're looking for weekend plans, now you have some. They appreciate that. They do a lot for us, and they are also our 501c3, so they open doors for additional grant opportunities that we qualify for as well. Another goal that we have is to increase awareness of the Caldwell Public Library Endowment Fund and conduct long-term fundraising to support the endowment. So as you all know, we have an endowment fund, and in the time that I have been here, we have used just about $600,000 for remodel projects, extensive HVAC and energy system repairs, and had we not had this fund available to us, we would not have been able to complete these projects. So we very much try to keep it in front of our minds as to how important that fund is and try to replenish it as best we can. All right. Next, we have Meet Community Demand for Technology Resources and Skill Development. One of our goals is to provide patrons with access to a variety of technologies and classes that support job seekers, business development, and enhance connectivity for seniors, lower-income residents, and families. And we have been able to work through that by providing access to computers, Wi-Fi, tech coaching, as that continues to be something that we invest a significant amount of time in because of the continued need for that in our community for this. Next, we have enhanced the library's community engagement efforts. One of our goals is to expand collections to reflect the needs of all community members, including seniors and Spanish speakers. And for our seniors, we provide programming and deliveries to Aspen Creek, Autumn Winds, also programs at the Senior Center, and additionally, we make several deliveries to individual homes. For Spanish speakers and ESL folks, we have ongoing programming at Farmway, the Mexican Consulate, and several of the Head Starts, including Casa, Marblefront, and La Adelita. Next, we have a goal to broaden our physical reach within the community by implementing 2 24-hour library access points. One of those access points is the Holds Locker project in Luby Park, and that is scheduled to be completed this fall. So we're excited for that as well. And then we have improved outreach to our underserved areas of the city and improved communication with patrons living in the area. And I just wanted to touch on our outreach efforts briefly. During the summer months, in addition to what I had mentioned previously as far as outreach, we also have programming with our mobile makerspace at the YMCA, Story Times Weekly at Indian Creek Plaza, and we'll be participating in Book and a Bite again this year. And our summer reading program. So summer is, of course, our busiest time of the year, and I wanted to share what we've been seeing so far. So our program runs July 1st through August 10th, and as of last Thursday, we have already had 1,143 folks sign up for summer reading. And from June 1st to June 17th, we've had 9,836 visits to the library, which averages to be about just over 700 people in and out every day that we've been open. So a very busy time for us. I also wanted to acknowledge our volunteers that assist with summer reading signups and questions, with most of them being teen volunteers. And as of June 13th, we've had 18 total volunteers that have logged 229 hours of their time. So we, again, very much appreciate their efforts. Without them, we would not be able to do what we do at that volume for sure. All right, and then I wanted to wrap up with just a few different examples of the programs that we've had so far this June. We've had, our first program was Art and Ice Cream in the Park, and we had 192 attendees to that one. And then our second program for June was the Summer Reading Special program with Storytime and Meet and Greet with the Sakais at Wolffield, and that had 61 participants in it. So another successful program for us. It has been, I guess in conclusion, just a busy summer. We look to have more programs and services and look forward to finding new ways to connect with the community. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Very good. Any questions for Lacey? Okay, thank you so much. Really appreciate all you
Thank you.
do and all the volunteers and the board, the time and efforts put in. We have an amazing library, and it's in large part to you and all of those people. So thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Okay, that is the only special presentation we had for this evening. So we do have a few people signed up for audience participation. So there are quite a few on here, so we would ask if you could limit your comments to 3 minutes or less in that regards. If somebody does state something before you, you can say, I agree with that person or what they've said, and then we can move on in that regards. So first off is Christopher Ott from the Chop Shop. If you please come forward. Yes. And if you don't mind just stating your name for the record so we know who's on there.
My name is Christopher Ott. I'm the owner of Chop Shop on the Indian Creek Plaza here in Caldwell. I'm just here to talk to you guys about the parking meters. When they first were presented to me, I could understand why the city would look at this as an opportunity. As a small business owner on the plaza, one of the first restaurants on the plaza in Caldwell, we are struggling with some of these issues. I have guests on a daily basis coming in to complain. From May 1st to today, I am down to almost $25,000 in sales because people are protesting the meters. As one of the restaurants on the plaza, Mayor Wagner knows, as being a small business owner on the plaza, there is some struggle with the developing city that's working through a reputation that you once had. I ask that we look at adjusting the meters to a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 scenario with Saturdays and Sundays free. So when we do events on the plaza, our patrons from out of town will join us. Because without those patrons, there is not enough traffic here in Caldwell to sustain the businesses that are downtown. I have been downtown on that plaza every day since I opened my restaurant. And I have watched my neighbors rotate 3 times. We are doing everything we can to sustain our business, and this is making it a great challenge. After surviving COVID, we don't want to have to survive the city that we support from choices that might not be in our favor. So I'm asking that we relook at this and try and figure out a better medium that will benefit everyone involved. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. We do appreciate those comments, and definitely will be something that will be looked into. So thank you, Chris. Appreciate your time. Sue Christlin.
Sue Cushlan, 121 South Louisiana, Caldwell. I have a letter that Brett Williams gave to me to read tonight. He wanted the people not only here, but the people that are watching to hear what he has to say. It's not the ranting of a disgruntled employee, but an examination of his employment with the city and very possibly a template for the city, for the golf courses moving forward. Still, after all that's transpired, Brett wants and hopes the golf courses will continue to be successful and thrive. Okay, here's a letter. The day that Mayor Nancolis hired me, he told me that his #1 priority was to get Purple Sage self-sufficient, and I needed to do whatever it took to make that happen. After the first week, I realized how big of a mess it really was, and I told the mayor that it was going to take some major policy and rate changes that were going to upset a lot of people, but I was willing to take on the responsibility and the burden. The following month, I attended my first budget meeting and was asked by the City Council to try to make Purple Sage self-sufficient in 5 years. The first 2 years were extremely difficult, and I put in a lot of long hours to do everything possible to cut expenses and raise revenues. Whether that meant anything from cleaning toilets myself, which he did, to getting more efficient in our ordering processes with the vendors to get better discounts. At the end of my second full year, Purple Sage went from losing $200,000 plus every year to breaking even with no city funding. At the start of my third year, the mayor asked me to take over the operation of Fairview. I gladly accepted the challenge. However, it meant I would no longer have time to teach lessons, which personally cost me and my family $10,000 to $20,000 per year in lost income. I did not receive a pay raise, nor did I ask for one, and I never complained once. I just did what I needed to do because it was in the best interest of the city, and after 1 year, we turned Fairview from a $50,000 annual loss to a $50,000 profit. After that point, we have increased revenue at both courses 20+% year over year. I am sad because I feel I could have improved both courses so much more but there were three main factors that led to my decision to leave. One, the AP process is completely broken. We are sending invoices in months in advance of due dates, and they are either getting missed, wrong page, missed or simply not getting paid. The courses are losing hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in discounts because they aren't paid in a timely manner, and some are now incurring finance charges. We are currently on the verge of losing business with some vendors. Two, the changes to the development of the budget has taken the experts out of the process, and there has been a severe lack of communication to what numbers and rates should be presented to the City Council. I simply will not be responsible for a budget that I have very little input in, especially when I have been creating budgets for over 30 years. Three, this was not a job to me. This was a mission. I did not do this for the money or any type of praise. I did it because it was in the best interest of the City of Caldwell. The City Council President was correct in a statement about me. I am not a golf professional. I am much more than that. I am a leader who hired and built an incredible team around him that changed a broken culture. I am a leader who inspired his team to go above and beyond to give our customers the best experience possible. I am a leader who made a lot of self-sacrifices and never once asked his team to do a job he wasn't willing to do himself. And I am a leader whose every decision and recommendation was simply for the betterment of the city. The only thing I ever expected was your respect. Moving forward, the city must listen to the request made by Ken Wheeler. He is simply the best in the business, and his requests are needs, not wants. If the conditions of the courses deteriorates in any way, which can happen very quickly in the heat, the entire business will suffer. Maintenance must be the #1 priority. The revenue that both courses are now generating should easily cover any equipment Ken needs, as long as there are no more unnecessary expenses. Both courses need a minimum of 10 rental carts each, which I guarantee will generate additional revenue. The last thing is that the allowance of private carts, this is going to hurt, needs to continue to be reduced, and the private cart storages need to be demolished. They are simply a revenue killer to public golf courses. I know that won't be popular, but it's a fact. Lastly, I just want to say thank you to both mayors for giving me this opportunity, and to those city council members who supported me. Thank you to the many city employees who I have tremendous respect for. Thank you to Ken Wheeler for your undeniable work ethic, guidance, and expertise. And finally, to my team, who I truly love and will sincerely miss. So I can't answer any questions because it's all here.
Thank you, Sue. We appreciate you
Okay, thank you.
reading that. Yeah, you bet. Jean?
Hi, Jean Kreidbring. In city council meetings and on the website, transparency is repeatedly highlighted. According to Better Works, transparency helps everyone in the workforce understand the current state of the business, the strategy, and how every employee can contribute. When you have these conditions, your workforce becomes more engaged and effective. Without a transparent work environment, employees have a hard time trusting leaders or understanding the company's vision. Less trust means less engagement, collaboration, and job satisfaction, unquote. Unfortunately, what I've seen and heard recently, the City of Caldwell is seriously lacking transparency across departments, managers, and administration. I was appalled to watch the budget workshop on May 30th, a prime example of the lack of transparency within the city. Besides the fact that the golf manager nor superintendent had any input in the budget, why would job description be a topic within a budget workshop? This should have been ironed out privately. In addition, why would someone with no golf knowledge be determining the budget and fee schedule? Brett Williams was a godsend to Caldwell. When he entered, the golf courses were in the red and severely taxing city finances. Within 2 years, the courses were in the black. Granted, his PGA card lapsed. However, his experience, expertise, leadership, and management should speak volumes on how he worked tirelessly to help the city. He managed not one, but 2 courses. I challenge you to survey the other courses within the valley. I have been a travel team captain for 4 years and worked with a good portion of the so-called pros as we compete at different courses. You are sadly mistaken that simply having a PGA card makes them a pro. There have been several competitions where the pro refused to do their pro duties, and Brett stepped in to do their job in order to help me out. There are pros that refuse to honor women as viable golfers and openly share that disapproval. Brett has stepped up time and time again to show his professionalism in honoring his position with pride. Moving forward, or given this lack of communication across the administration, perhaps backwards, I would implore you to not have tunnel vision. Just having a PGA card isn't the correct approach. The person, like Brett, would need to have experience managing a golf course, budget, and dealing with the superintendent. There are cities around us that have individuals making decisions without consulting with the superintendent or superseding the pro. Not good. I'm happy to share those details and information privately without throwing them under the bus. In addition, it is imperative that you listen to the experts, communicate with the individuals involved, and truly be transparent. Mark my word, if the rumors floating about concerning lack of communication, micromanaging, and inability to pay necessary bills continue, the courses will no longer be the gem sought out in the valley. Right now, the golf community isn't impressed. In closing, in the budget workshop, there were several references to various employee appreciation expenditures. Intriguing, given that the job done by Brett Williams wasn't appreciated. And now you are advertising hiring one pro at a higher rate of pay than Brett, who managed 2 courses. Odd. And finally, please stop deciding that we have to be exactly like the cities around us. That isn't working. Decisions should be made on what's best in the interest of Caldwell. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Amy Perry?
Mr. Mayor, Council, Amy Perry. I used to own the Rubaiyat. My daughter now owns the Rubaiyat. I own the building. I want to talk to you about infrastructure. You built a lovely plaza, but we don't have a good enough sewer system to handle it. So once a month, the guys come and blow out the sewer next to the building, my building, because it smells so bad of sewer gas right before they do it. Sucks all the water out of all the drains in my building, so we have to run around and refill all the drains. Annoying. So you put in your parking meters. The parking meters themselves are not good infrastructure. Sasha got me paid for. She had to do it twice. The other day I attempted to tell it I was going to be there 2 hours. Charged me $0.25. Seriously? They're impossible to work for the elderly people. I was there for 2 hours. I had several of my old customers who came in, that's why I'm there 2 hours a month, who came in and said, I'm illegally parked. And one of your police department people came in and parked. They all left. It's like, I'm illegally parked. I better leave, the police are here. So it's not working for everybody. It wasn't a good idea. You told us that, well, you all had a chance to talk about it. I never heard about it until December. I didn't get the notifications because I was part of the BID that I was told I got. Didn't get them. The equipment's bad. Get good equipment in. If you're going to have parking meters, make sure they work. Just make them work. Figure it out. You're planning some annexations, and I'm concerned, again, infrastructure. Do we have a big enough fire department? Do we have enough EMTs? Do we have enough police presence to take care of these annexed places? To add more territory when the police cannot take care of the drunks that come off the plaza? during your events because evidently you don't have enough police infrastructure. So what's the answer? How are you going to fix the infrastructure problems that are being created by the growth and not well thought out planning?
Thank you, Amy. And just so you know, not to throw Rob, but our Public Works Director is right there. So, and I know he took some notes about when you mentioned about your sewer problems. So I'm guessing he's going to look into it. So if you want to get him maybe your information, he could follow up with you and after he finds out whatever he can for that. So to see what they can do to fix that. Okay, thank you. Saja, I was going to ask how to say it, but your mom said it for me. So if you don't mind coming forward, and if you could just state your name for the record.
Saja Fletcher. Working down at the Rubaiyat, I worked for the last 3 years and took it over in January for my mother, and I started running the numbers of what the parking meters have done. We're down 20%. We're a used bookstore. We cover all bases. We're a hybrid shop with games. We shouldn't be having this much problem. I'm the only business with no parking off the street on that road. I didn't have any problems with parking until it was event time, which is fine. We can work around that. But I'm watching a drop in sales because the meters don't work right, because the meters are there, both ways. I want to know how this is going to be fixed. 9 to 5 would be great. Chop Shop had a great idea. I want to see how we can better work with the businesses, communicating with them, because we didn't know. The BID was supposed to be a communication process, but it's not. The map on the parking meters is incorrect, still on the website. So I have customers asking me, there's no information on how to do these things. The parking meters aren't explanatory, and Spanish-speaking and reading customers don't have any information on how to operate them. That cuts out a major portion of Caldwell City. Those people come in and shop. I would like to see how we can fix this, how we can make it better, how we can work together better. The businesses need to be included so we can work with this. But if we're not, and we're always ostracized out of it until the last minute and then cut out, it's hard. So I'm asking you guys, how can we work together to better this situation so we can better Caldwell and not leave us hanging? Because there are a lot of people leaving because of it, out-of-towners and people from in town. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much. I appreciate those suggestions and that information. So we'll definitely look into that, especially with ensuring the Spanish language is on there for that understanding. So we'll follow up with that for sure. Next on the list is, I believe it's Mary Jane Marlowe.
Take a few seconds to pass these out.
Good. Thank you.
That's a few minutes of my time, huh?
Well, we won't start it till you get up there, so.
Mary Jane Marlowe, Mayor, Council. I'm here tonight actually to request a future time to come back and explain this in more detail. The WIN phone booth. What is a WIN telephone? It's a telephone booth with a disconnected phone inside to symbolically talk to loved ones that have passed. Through a disconnected phone that no longer rings, but offers a bit of respite to those grieving a lost loved one using a symbol of wind to stay connected to the dead. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I'm going to ask for maybe if you have any questions at the end. The first phone wind, I think I could pronounce this, Otsuchi, Japan, in 2010, a garden designer by the name of Itaru Sasaki. He was mourning the loss of his cousin, and he wanted a way to talk to him. And because he could not relay over a regular phone line, he decided to create something that could be carried on the wind. So when the tsunami hit in 2011 and killed many thousands of people, he opened the phone booth to help friends and relatives of those who died with their grief. So, again, I'm not going to read all of this. So, America and worldwide, we have 137 in America today and growing, and 70 worldwide and growing. So my proposal, a WIN phone on the second page for Idaho. Currently, there are no WIN phones, and I would like to change that by asking the city of Caldwell to consider placing a wind phone at Canyon Hill Cemetery overlooking the valley and the Boise River, or whatever location, probably in a park that you would like. I've created design model, you can see on the last page here. Here's the design model that I'm offering free for the city, and $1,000 to help with the structure of it, to the design specifications. I would just like to be a part of the team who decides where it goes. You can read about me. I've been working for the city of Caldwell in the past, counting their trees, so there's a little bit about myself. And the last couple of 3 pages just goes into a little bit more detail about what it's like, what it has helped, and some voices of visitors. Then there's a few nice, this is alphabetical order, so 137, I didn't make copies for that, but we have from Arizona to California to Colorado. Those are just some places and some photos that you can see where they've been installed. So, if you have any questions now, that would be great, but I really would like to come back at another time and go into it in detail, if I'm allowed.
Very good. Thank you so much. And I think what I'd like to do is get this to our Parks and Recreation Director as well. So if we don't have your contact information, if you can make sure that the city clerk does have it before you leave tonight.
Should I do that
on
now?
that. And we may have it if you did some work for the city previously in that, we may have that. But I'd like to get it to our Parks and Rec Director, have her reach out to you, and then you two
Sure.
could meet and kind of discuss on how it could move forward in the future.
Thank you.
So-
What is her name?
So Julie McCoy is her name.
Should I give it to you now, or should?
Okay, so thank you so much, appreciate that, Mary Jane. Joseph, and I cannot read the last,
Joseph Lombardo, Joe's Emporium, 615 Main Street. So I'm here to support my fellow businesses. I believe the parking meters were premature. I'm sure during the winter wonderland, you would probably need the meters. I think during evening maybe, but during daytime, it's just empty. And so I agree with Chris, 9 to 5 would be good. I think there should be an hour exemption and posted for retail so they could survive. But I think if this continues, I think you're going to see a lot of, there's going to be a lot of people that's going to go down because it's just a bad vibe. It really is. I've been here 20 years. This is the worst I've ever seen it. So that's my words.
okay, excellent, thank you, Joe, appreciate it. Bob Clark.
Bob Clark, Idaho Blade Runner. You know, I've had a business down here for 12 years, and I'm here to complain about the parking meters. I think you're going to end up with a ghost town down here if you keep these parking meters. I'd love to see them all gone. Now, I'm an old guy. I'm a Vietnam vet. I got a lot of old friends that come down here. They don't understand how the parking meters work, and they don't like the parking meters. I don't like the parking meters because it's costing me money. A lot of money. This, you know, chop shop down 25% is probably the same, 25, 30% for me. And I'm sure this is unintended consequences, nevertheless, it's happening. It's affecting businesses. Now, I don't think you realize when, I don't know who approved this. I talked to the business development manager for City of Caldwell. I told him then, every time I see him, it's a terrible idea. And let me call your attention to the Caldwell logo there. What does that look like to you? It's a farming community, right? You see row crops, cherries, grapes, corn, wheat. This is a farming community. This is not a big city. We do not want to be like downtown Boise. Boise, in my view, is run by a bunch of liberal lunatics who are obsessed with parking meters and bike lanes. We don't want either here. We don't want parking meters. We don't want bike lanes. And I hope I can put this impression in your brain to be sizzled, I mean just burned in there forever. Less than 1 mile from this location, we have a cattle auction every Friday. Every Friday, we have a cattle auction because Caldwell is a country town. This is a rural community. We don't want parking meters. They're costing us money. They're cost our customers that come in. I mean, somebody, you know, they had some parking spaces down on the bottom side of, you have to go through 4 layers of railroad tracks to get to the parking, free parking. And I got some 70, 80-year-old customers, pushing, your walker up past 4 rows of uphill train tracks is not a good thing. Just to avoid paying a few bucks at the parking meters. I'm begging you to take them out. We don't need these in a country town. They belong in Boise, but they do not belong in a country town. Look at that. We are a rural community. It's not helping the businesses. Now, I like what Destination Caldwell has done. I was with that first meeting at College of Idaho when they talked about putting that plaza back there. I was in Maddie's Plaza 12, 14 years ago. Then the only thing in the back of us was a dirt parking lot, gravel parking lot. So I'm amazed at the good things that Destination Caldwell did for this city. But the decisions lately, like parking meters, I think was a terrible choice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you coming. Nancy Roberts.
My name is Nancy Roberts, and I agree with Christopher Ott and Amy Perry and Sasha and Joe and Bob Clark. And I will add that if you were going to have parking meters, why in the world didn't you get something that would work? You stand out there, you can't see the front, that you're supposed to operate from. It seems, regardless of what time of day, there's just a glare on it. And you have to go through many, many, many screens. So it takes a lot of time. And I'm not going to stand out after dark and expose myself to unsafe conditions trying to get my car parked. And another issue that I found tonight was that you're having a meeting on the same evening of a farmer's market. All of the parking around City Hall is taken. And people are doing what I see in my neighborhood, driving around and around and around, trying to see if they can get to an event. City Hall needs to have, if not ample parking, then extraordinary amounts of parking free, so that your citizens have access to these meetings. And that's not the case this evening. It's probably not the case many times. So the parking meters are too slow. We're in nice weather and it's already irritated the crap out of me on a windy day to stand out there and being blown to bits before I want to go to dinner. And there's been quite a few times that I just don't come downtown anymore because the parking meters are there. And I carry bulging pockets of quarters for people who cannot figure out how to use the meters. And over at Flying M, they had a good idea. They have, instead of pennies, take a penny, leave a penny, they've got quarters. And they're helping the people pay to come and shop. It's not a good idea. Those meters are ridiculous. I don't know who came up with those nasty things, but if you were gonna try and be like Boise, for heaven's sakes, get some decent meters that can be used easily and will work correctly. I had another issue. I would like this city to honor the North Caldwell Historic District. And that has not been the case. We are listed on the National Historic Register of Places, and I don't find that they're paying attention to it at all. I don't know, when Chuck Randolph was here, we did get some attention, and that was nice. But I'm hearing, I would like to know more. If anybody knows at all what this idea is about putting a huge bridge over on 9th Avenue to cross the railroad tracks, none of those old people can get up over a bridge. Are you going to put in an elevator? Are you going to chop off my front yard up to my door to try and put in something like that? I can imagine. I hope that's an idea that somebody is just joking with. If not, I would like to know more about it.
It's the first I've heard of it. So.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so, yes. Terrible idea. So we need to support our existing businesses. These businesses cannot be down that far for more than, what, a week? I suggest you stop being paid for every day that they're losing money, because they can't hang on. Businesses don't make a lot of money. I know that people think corporations and businesses, boy, they've got a lot of money. They do not. They cannot sustain this. And it's been going on for weeks now. And then sewer gas smells bad. Yes, it does, but it's also a significant health issue. People don't seem to know that, or otherwise you would have lawsuits. It's also explosive. So it's something that has needed to be taken care of for quite some time. And thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Nancy, appreciate it. And later on in the agenda tonight, we will actually be discussing moving city council night to Monday night, just for that reason that you had stated for the farmer's market. So last on our list is Robert Roberts. Or you just agree with everything your wife said? He's a pretty smart man, so I think that's probably what it's.
Robert Roberts, Caldwell. Anyway, I agree with a lot of the talk tonight, so I'll leave it at that.
Very good, thank you, we appreciate it. Appreciate you being here and everything you do for our community. Okay, so that is all that's signed up for audience participation.
I'd like to make some comments, or do you want me to wait until council comments?
Up to you, if you want to wait, because if there may be more
If
that
they're
come up.
going to
or-
be here still. I think I will. He wants, I think he
No.
wants.
Yes, Chris? If you could just make it quick, because go ahead, but just, if you could do it
I
fast.
just want to run something by you guys. I don't know if anybody knows about this. I had a gentleman come into my shop with plans about the 10th Street Bridge, saying that they were going to be rebuilding it from April of next year till August. A lot of people I've spoke with about this have no idea what that's about. So he's talking about shutting down a lot of the plaza and the side streets, is what he presented to me. So I don't know if this is true or false, but I think it should be addressed immediately if they're talking about blocking off quite a bit of downtown. So I don't know if that was real or not, but he had blueprints. He came in and showed me paperwork and
Who was he? Who was,
two guys came in about a month ago.
you don't know what company they're
I
with?
have no
or-
idea.
Okay.
They were talking about redoing the 10th Street Bridge and shutting down Arthur and a couple other side streets. So I just didn't, I wanted to know if that was real or not, because if we got meters and that, we'll all be out of business.
Yeah, that's the man that would know right there. So if you want to talk to him after, so, and then we'll kind of look into that too, let you know on that. Council Register, you had some comments?
Yeah, so I was just making some notes based on what the feedback was, and I appreciate you all being here. This was a conversation that we asked for, or three of us asked for back in December, and we're told no. And part of the reason we were told no was because they felt like you had already been heard, and I don't think that was the case. So just so you know that we did try to get those conversations back then before this vote came. And I wish we had, because like you, I agree very much that there was very poor communication and there was no plan. And in my opinion, it felt very much like being sold by a used car salesman on this. And I think that now what we're finding out is there's a lot of stuff that we were told during those meetings, such as the car park is going to have a local office, so that's why they'll be immersed in the community, but now we're finding out that we're actually paying for that, as far as I can tell. So I have expressed those concerns. I have talked to Councilor Doty about it. We're going to talk to the finance director, kind of get to the bottom of those things, because I don't think we were told the truth, and I think the plan was bad. And the communication. And one thing that concerns me about this is that as a small business owner myself, I agree that you cannot lose revenue in your business for a very long time before you go out of business. It's not sustained by a parent organization or a corporation or something like that. So that concerns me quite a bit. I know Councilor Dittenberg had said something at one meeting about businesses getting ready to file for taxes, so we would know if there was a loss or something to that effect. I don't think we can wait that long. I think we need to listen to what the community is saying right now. Also, I agree, I think that as far as I can understand it, the parking meter thing came up because there was no question that there was a parking problem downtown. There were problems. People were complaining that they were losing business because people couldn't park there. I think the way it went about was the problem, and that maybe had the businesses or residents been involved in this process, that we could have come up with something that made sense to everybody and kept the integrity of the town like you were talking about. And I think the fact that we did not have those conversations was the problem. So what I'm bringing up now is that we have identified these, then when does that conversation start again? We can't just have you come and talk and then have the city ignore it and never bring it up again. So I'd like to put that challenge back to the mayor about how that's going to happen, and not do please stop trying to sell everybody, because I had a conversation today with the economic director, who I appreciate very much, but I'm trying to get like these answers and I feel like we're going in circles, and so it's just, people just want the truth. And then I wanted to also address Mary Jane with is she still here? Did she leave?
I think she did,
The
yeah.
WIN telephone. Okay, well, as a widow, I appreciate that very much, and I think it's a great idea, so I'd love to hear more about it. And then for Sue and Jeannie, I appreciate you guys coming and speaking about that and being an advocate for those things. I also agree again about communication, and I feel like it came down to this weird argument about job title when he probably should have just moved into a management position and had one golf pro and we called it a day. But again, I think that goes back to the fact that we just don't have any plans. And so for the mayor, again, I have asked for the organizational chart, still don't have it. But I think that could have probably solved some of the issues if council had been aware of how this was organized, and then maybe if we had to get involved from there, we didn't have to have a discussion about titles and things like that, and maybe saved some of those relationships. So as far as the community is concerned, I just want you to know that there are counselors that support you in what you're saying, and I'm personally hoping that when this comes back around in October for a vote, that you all come back and speak again, because I don't think we can sustain this for very long. But if the only way to not do it is to have that vote in October, then I hope you come back and speak to it again so that the council can hear you at that meeting. But at the same time, to the mayor, I would hope that you will consider what everybody's saying. I am going to talk at the end of the meeting about a few changes, but if an hourly change makes more sense to the business owners, then I hope you'll listen to them.
Okay. Yes, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, then we are on to our consent calendar. I believe we do have one amendment to the consent calendar this evening.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Doty.
I have a few here, so I'm going to read these.
Okay.
So first, I'd make a motion to amend the consent calendar by adding item 26 to read, approve resolution authorizing the execution of a public access and pathway memorandum of understanding with the Idaho Conference of Seventh-day Adventist associated with Lake Lowell Pathway Project. In addition, number 2, we need to approve the minutes at a later date for the minutes dated June 8th. So we need to remove the minute approval for June 8th. And then we also need to move consent items number 8 and number 9 to new business, and remove consent item number 18 completely.
Okay, so we have a motion for amendment of the consent calendar as noted. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion from Councilor Doty, second from Councilor Stoddard. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. So now before the council is the consent calendar as amended. Do we have a motion for approval of the consent calendar as amended? And a second?
Second.
Motion from Councilor Stoddard and a second from Councilor Register regarding approval of the consent calendar as amended. Madam Clerk, are you going to call that, or do we have the? Yeah, do you want to just do a roll call? Okay.
Okay, Doty,
Yes.
Register,
Yes.
Dittenber,
Yes.
Allgood.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Stottie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that motion passes unanimously. There is no old business, so we'll actually jump right into those items that were just removed from the consent calendar, which were 8 and 9 on the consent calendar. Will now be 1A and 1B under new business. Mr. Mills, we can just cover both of these, I think, in the same, and do it all with just one motion in that regards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bruce Mills, Public Works. On item number 8, this is just a correction to the resolution that was passed on May 21st, which was bringing our street standards up to, well, close to what some of the other cities around here have. We've been very deficient for many years in what we required for pavement thickness, for gravel thickness on our pavement sections. So unfortunately, on the May 21st resolution, we had left off an inadvertent change of requiring more pit run gravel under our residential local streets. It was supposed to be increased from 8 to 14 inches, just like all the other ones were being increased by 6 inches. And we had forgotten to put in the all-weather road section for that. So this resolution tonight for item 8 is just to correct those issues on the resolution that was passed on May 21st. And I don't know if there are any questions on that before I move on to item number 9.
Any questions on that one? Councilor
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Williams?
Yes. Thank you for being here,
Sure.
and I apologize for the late notice if indeed it was late. Could you, for everyone listening, define for us what ISPWC is?
That's the Idaho Standards for Public Works Construction. It's a document that is used as a guide by most all cities within the state of Idaho. And again, it's a guide. A lot of different cities say, well, I like these parts in it, these other parts, I want to do a supplement and change it for our city. And so each city that uses ISPWC, probably almost all of them, have supplements or changes that they do to those more generic standards.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
And I'll be honest with you, you probably already know, but I'm the one that was asking questions about this that ended up with it being here and you needing to be here tonight. But
No problem.
But it occurred to me as I was doing my packet study, I didn't know very much about this. And so I actually consulted with a friend who's retired from one of the local highway districts and said, what do you know about this? And at first he basically said, all of this is just as I would expect it to be, but then said to me, it should be something along the lines of ISPWC. And I said, wait a minute, what's that? And so my concern is, if it's different than what is Idaho standards, help us understand why, so that then we can all agree that we want to be different. Unfortunately, what happens, you know this, is we're the ones that will get the questions later on.
Sure.
We're the ones that will get the emails later on when somebody says, why is Caldwell different than everybody else?
Okay.
We may choose to be. And if we choose to be, that's perfectly all right. So I just, if it's just the residential that's different than the ISPWC, help me understand why, and then tell me where anything else in this is different and why.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Councilor Williams. Item number 8, the ISPWC does not dictate how thick anyone's pavement or crushed rock gravel under the pavement should be. Each city chooses themselves how to do that. So it's not really related because ISPWC doesn't address it into that detail. So each city adopts their own standards and how thick they want those things to be. We've had standards, but they've been much less than the other cities, which has been causing some of our issues in our streets. So on item number 8, it's really very clear cut and there's no conflict with ISPWC whatsoever. So let me jump to item number 9 then, really.
Perfect, thank you.
And could I have that trench picture of their trench? Well, this is what, first of all, this is what's proposed, which, and the biggest reason is we're asking that these trenches, and these are just under the pavement, under existing pavement, when contractors go out there and trench under our pavement, they have traffic control, they're always in a hurry, they don't want to, so they're dumping stuff back in our trenches, that junk, clay, whatever they can find, maybe compacting it with some good effort. Don't get me wrong, there are good contractors out there that do it properly, but unfortunately, The first day I was on the job, our street superintendent took me out and said, look at these trenches. And we drove through the city, dozens of trenches. They're all settling and we're having problems. And he said, what can we do to fix this? Well, there's really only two ways you can fix something like this. You can either require that good backfill gets put into that trench, or you can have an inspector out there watching the entire process to make sure they're taking out the bad stuff and compacting it properly. One of the issues, unfortunately, I used to work at Ada County Highway District. We had 30 inspectors. We have 2 here. We don't have the manpower right now to be able to be out there watching all the trenches get backfilled. So again, this standard is not for new subdivisions or on private property, not for those trenches at all. They have more time when there's no traffic there to compact it properly. So this is just meant for underneath the roads. ISPWC, in this particular instance, does have a standard, but they say, in this area here where I'm saying put crushed rock, they say that you need to put proper backfill back in. The problem is, without supervision, proper backfill is not going in. And that's the reason why. We had the same issue, and I explained it, when I was in the Tri-Cities, all the cities there adopted actually a more rigid standard than this, 5 feet of gravel instead of 4 feet, because we were having the same issues with trenches, not having enough manpower to really inspect them all. Could you show the trench photo? I mean, this is just an example of the kind of trenches. You can see that they're failing because they've not had proper material put back in them and they haven't had proper compaction. So to me, it's a problem, and the only 2 solutions are more manpower to watch them or putting in a better product inside. Does this exceed what ISPWC has for their trench detail? Yes, it does. Will it cost the contractors a little more? Yes and no, because this, again, it's just underneath roads. So if they have good backfill like this, it's a lot easier to compact it and get it done quicker so that they can get out of the road and get traffic flowing again. So that's why I proposed this. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm.
So, and I appreciate that.
Sure.
I really do, and I think that's a great answer, and I'm glad to hear it. One more question, and then I'll be done. Help me understand the 5-year new pavement cut moratorium.
Absolutely. Most agencies have that in place, whether it's official or unofficial. They do not allow people to come in and cut brand-new pavement and put trenches across it for a 5-year period because they've just spent a lot of money making these roads nice and freshly paved. But everyone has exceptions, and we are putting exceptions in there too. We're just saying that if you're going to do that, you need to do a proper sized trench, not just a 2-foot wide trench that a car can go over, but making it wider. And so I know ACHD has a 5-year moratorium. I could do research, but I can guarantee you that most Idaho cities have a moratorium on brand new pavement. So it's not something new. There are, pardon?
With exceptions.
With exceptions, and just like we have exceptions. Absolutely,
Perfect.
you have to, because there are emergencies that come up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we want to cover
Thank you
those
so
too.
much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Stoddard?
Mr. Mayor, Bruce, what I like to see in our contracts, and I've seen those trenches all over the city that you talked about, and it's up to you and your expertise, but within a year or two, if we have a trenching that sags, the contractor who did it needs to come back in and fix it right. I wish that was in the contract.
Currently, we have a 1-year warranty. We're considering a 2-year warranty because 1 year doesn't seem to give enough time for
Exactly.
all the stuff to settle.
Especially if they don't do it right, so,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other mics on, so we're good there. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, so if there's no other questions, any discussion by council or any motion, you can do both of these in one motion. Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'll move that we approve new business item 1A is what it is now?
1A and 1B.
1A and 1B.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Councilor Williams and a second from Councilor Stoddard for approval of the new business items 1A and 1B, which were listed on the agenda as consent calendar items 8 and 9. Any discussion on that motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. That moves us into new business. Action item number 1. This is case number SUB 24-13, request for a condominium plat. And this will be presented by Katie, looks like.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Katie Wright, Associate Planner, 205 South 6th Avenue. Before you today is NR Condominiums, sub 2413. And for the record, there is an error in the packet in the staff report. It does state 6.5 acres for this project, and it is just 2.5. The project location is 2.5 acre parcel located 600 feet west of Haystack Way, south of Mueller Drive. And the site does have frontage along Mueller. The project site is currently surrounded by single-family residential to the northwest, industrial to the north and east, commercial and industrial to the west and south. The application before you tonight is a short plat for 2 industrial buildings to be condoed into 13 condos and 1 common lot. The proposed industrial tenant spaces are an allowed use in on this property, which allowed the development to obtain building permits and start construction. Both buildings have been completed at this time. There was a landscape review done in 2024 that allowed dryscape for this site. Prior to certificate of occupancies, the applicant will need to complete the landscaping in accordance to the approved landscape plan that is included in the packet. In the future, each tenant will be responsible for requesting special use permits if applicable to their specific use, and all tenant spaces will have to get business licenses, at which time the use and parking count will be double-checked by staff, assuring that it's appropriate per city code requirements. The proposed development is zoned light industrial, and the southern half is within the APO 1, the airport overlay. The purpose of the M1 light industrial zone is to provide areas by zoning procedures in accordance with the comprehensive plan, which encourage the grouping together of light industrial uses capable of being operated under such standards as to location, appearance of buildings, and the treatment of land about them so that they will be unobtrusive and not detrimental to surrounding commercial or residential uses. The site is surrounded by service and freeway commercial to the south, light industrial to the north and east, medium-density residential to the northwest, and service commercial and freeway commercial to the west. Staff finds the potential proposed uses would be permitted within the existing zone, or potentially a special use permit, which once again would come back through for a hearing. The comp plan designation is manufacturing and production. Manufacturing and production is suitable for the manufacturing, processing, assembling, packaging, or fabrication of previously prepared materials, research and development activities, and warehousing. Manufacturing and production uses shall be unobtrusive and not detrimental to surrounding residential and commercial uses, and this development is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposed condo plat is to condo 2 industrial buildings to have a total of 13 condos under individual ownership. Building 1 has 8 tenant spaces and Building 2 has 5 tenant spaces. The common lot will be maintained by the Condo Owner Association. The proposed development project has been analyzed for compliance with city codes and policies, and staff finds the proposed development is in compliance with all parking and landscaping requirements, all bulk standards for lot size, setbacks, frontage, and height of buildings. The proposed development has adequate site access, utilities, and services to serve the site, and the proposed development is in compliance with all other zoning and subdivision ordinances. Public agencies were notified and asked to provide comments. No agencies had any concerns, and there were no public comments received at this time. The site-specific conditions are as follows. NR Condo Association shall be responsible for maintaining all common areas, including all exterior building facades and roofs, parking lots, landscaping, etc., in compliance with the Master Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, Restrictions, and Easements for NR condominiums. Applicant shall be required to record their CCNRs and include the instrument number in the final plat prior to recordation. And the applicant shall include install bike racks on the north side of each building, Building 1 and Building 2, outside of the landscape buffer or right-of-way prior to certificate of occupancy. Staff recommends that if council approves the request, that such request is subject to the conditions as specified in the findings of facts, conclusions of law, and the order of decision. And I stand for any questions.
Good, thank you so much. Is there any questions, Councilor Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. My question might surprise you because I've been arguing for Xeriscape in some cases, and this is probably a really good example of where that would make perfect sense, except it's just adjacent but across the street diagonally to a residential area. And it's one of those great examples of how we're blending some of this, where it's going from residential, commercial, light industrial, and we're bringing that all together. But is it really the best place to have to remove our landscaping requirement when we've got residences that are going to be driving by that probably daily? And I guess it's just really a question, that was really the only thing I saw in this packet that I thought, is this the best place to remove that? Or do we want something at least on the street side that softens that transition? And then from there, we're moving into the light industrial, and I'd love to talk more about Xeriscape.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Councilor Williams. In this situation, the Dryscape was approved through a different process earlier on, and I unfortunately was not a part of, so I wouldn't be able to attest to it specifically for this project. This project does, most of the ground cover is all bark with some shrubs and trees. Just to give you kind of an idea, I know you didn't have a super long time to look at the landscape plan, but that's unfortunately about as much as I can talk to that specific approval. I don't know if Morgan wants to touch on that at all.
Planning and zoning, Morgan Bisa. That's accurate. There was a request by the applicant to do an alternate method of compliance. That was staff level and previously reviewed, but I don't think that would prevent the council from requesting additional landscape, I apologize, requesting additional landscape if they want as part of the application, but it does appear that it meets the intent of the code.
Thank you.
Councilor Allgood?
Yeah, Katie, I just want to clarify what we're looking at. This construction meets the current zoning. We're simply approving the condominium portion. Am I correct with that?
Mayor and Councilor Allgood, yes, that is correct. So the buildings are already upright, already built out. Most of the landscaping's already put in. Parking's there. Really what this application is just to essentially allow them to have individual owners of each of those tenant spaces, and that's really about it.
Okay, and that's not new. We've done that before.
Plenty of times.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't see any other questions.
Thank you.
Yes. I'm guessing the applicant is here. Very good. If you'd come forward and if you could state your name for the record, that would be appreciated.
Good evening, Antonio Conti with Ackerman Estate. First, sorry that I'm dressed. I just came off the field. I've been out surveying all week, so I didn't get a chance to go home and change and dress appropriately for you guys. Everything Katie said, I mean, there is no reason for me to waste your time and repeat. One thing I want to clarify is that the project, the original project with the landscaping and all those requirements were approved a while back. That's why the buildings are up, landscaping is in. There's some minor corrections. I know they're asking for bike racks to be installed. We have no opposition doing that. I've already discussed it with the client and look at a position for it. All we're asking is to make these units that are already built available for sale individually. That's pretty much all there is in this project.
Okay, thank you so
Unless
much. Any questions? Oh, any questions? Okay, very good. And thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And that is, I was guessing you're the only one that was signed up, and he is the only person signed up on this, for this matter. So with that, I would stand for motion to close the public testimony portion of this hearing. In a second? So motion from Counselor Doty and a second from Counselor Stoddard. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. So that moves it into deliberation for council. Any motions as well? Questions for staff? So the item is before you at this time. Counselor Williams.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I think it would be unfortunate to penalize the developer at this point, having moved along, but I would appreciate some help in the future as we see these movements that we're talking about, even in our master plan, and when you bring it before us, we'll see more of this. But I want to see softer transitions, but I'm not going to stand in the way of this tonight. I'm ready to approve it if someone makes a motion.
Very good. Counselor Allgood, did you have a comment or a motion?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, yes.
Case number SUB 24-13, Ackerman Estivold, on behalf of RDL Concepts, is requesting approval. Let's see. Based on the findings of facts and conclusions of law, the Mayor and City Council hereby orders that case number SUB 13, the request for a condo short plat is hereby approved to include the conditions of approval as outlined in the staff report.
Very good. So we have a motion from Counselor Allgood and a second from Counselor Doty for approval of case number SUB 24-13. Any discussion of that motion? Okay, with that, all those in favor say aye. Oh, so a subdivision, we can just do a voice, can't we, Taylor? Correct? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Motion to close this public hearing item.
So moved.
Second.
So, I think two first and a second. So Counselor Allgood for a motion to close that, and Counselor Stoddard for a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. That moves us into new business action item number 2. This is for a bill and ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 17, pertaining to meeting days for the Caldwell Historic Preservation Commission. Taylor, the time is yours.
Mayor and Council, thank you. So before you have an ordinance that amends the meeting time and dates for the Caldwell Historic Preservation Commission, just keeps it a little bit open-ended in terms of flexibility with scheduling. The open meeting laws would still apply to those meetings, so notice and all those types of details would still have to be posted regularly. So again, just providing a little bit more flexibility for when those meetings can be scheduled still. Once per month, just, again, a little bit more fluid in the timing and location and date. So, any questions on that?
Perfect. Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, do we have
Yes,
someone
Councilor Doty.
assigned, do we have someone assigned to that from that council? So
Counselor
just-
Williams.
Just trying to get your opinion if you want it more flexible
Thumbs up,
or
thumbs
not.
down.
No, this is fantastic.
Okay.
And by the way, this is necessary because we need to change the day that the Historic Preservation Commission is meeting on, because at this point it is Mondays. And there's a conflict with the city council depending upon what we decide in our next motion. And so this allows for some flexibility, and the commission is deliberating what and where would work best for them at this point.
Okay. Counselor Stoddard? Did you, okay, very good. So thank you so much, Taylor, appreciate it. So do we have a sponsor of this bill and ordinance regarding this change to this section?
Sure.
Counselor Doty.
Or you? Sometimes the lights are, I don't know if the lights are good or not. Everybody leaves them on or turns them off. I can't tell, but move for the passage, Bill 43, Ordinance 3604. Am I on the right one?
Yep.
Pertaining to the meeting dates for the Historic Preservation Commission.
Very good. And a second?
Second.
So we have a motion from Counselor Doty and a second from Counselor Williams for sponsorship and passage of Bill 43, Ordinance 3604. Any discussion of that motion? Okay, and this one we do need to go to the voting for, and so the voting is open. We haven't had a chance to warm them up. I don't think it's you, Taylor. Okay, all votes are cast, the voting is closed, and that passes unanimously. That moves us into the next one, which I'm guessing is why you're still there. So this is new business number 3, bill number 48, ordinance 3609, amending chapter 2, article 1, pertaining to the meeting time and location for Caldwell City Council meetings.
Thanks,
Taylor.
Mayor. Councilman Williams stole my thunder on this one, but as forecasted in audience participation, we're proposing to change the meetings to Monday to better accommodate all sorts of activities that are happening on the plaza and accommodate your guys' schedule, I'm assuming, as well as what we previously discussed. So any questions for me on that? Same time, we did do a little bit of housekeeping on that ordinance where we changed the location as well to better reflect this City Hall location and address, so.
Very good. Thank you so much. Any questions, Councillor Allgood?
Yes, kind of one of the reasons we moved to Tuesday was there's a few holidays that fall on Monday that bump the council meeting to Tuesday, but that does not change our issue with the plaza. I'm wondering if we can formalize, if we have a holiday on Monday, that our council meeting moves to Wednesday or something, so that we still don't end up in that spot, because one of the reasons we moved was several holidays fall on Monday, and then it bumps us to Tuesday, and we're right back in the same spot. I was just wondering if there's some way to formalize that, so it's just known completely. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure, Mayor and Councilman Allgood, thank you. I think that that's, again, kind of goes back to that same issue that we just discussed with the Caldwell Historic Preservation Commission, right? As long as we notice it properly, we can take a look at calendars and see what conflicts with holidays on Mondays, post those appropriately, and I think that would be just fine. I'll work with the city clerk on organizing that and the mayor on the calendar as well.
Yeah, just to avoid the same situation we're in right now.
Yep.
Yeah, Councillor Doty?
I was just going to add, I don't know if it's easier to do a date certain if it falls on a Monday or just go to the next Monday as well. Clearly, we're all trying to set schedules, and we know that it's every other Monday, but clearly in support of something like that, but I'm not sure if just bumping it to the next Monday would cause any more problems either, but it sounds like it's going to be researched, and so that'd be great.
Well, the next Monday is urban renewal, so.
All right, so there you go. So we can't do that.
Yeah. So, Councillor Stardick, did you have a, good, okay, very good. Councillor Dittenber?
This would be effective when?
August 5th. So that first meeting in August. So we didn't want to obviously wait too long because then it'd be done for the farmers market. So we wanted to get in as quick as possible. So,
Mr. Mayor, can we
Yes.
do it any sooner than that or no?
So due to notifications, I don't think we could have. Is that correct?
Okay.
Yep, so that was the earliest we could. Okay, very good. With that, do we have any, if there's no other discussion, any motions for passage of this bill and ordinance?
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Doty.
I'll move for the passage of Bill 48, 3609 pertaining to the meeting dates of the Caldwell City Council regularly scheduled meetings.
Good, do we have a second? It's a motion from Councilor Doty and a second from Councilor Stodick for passage of bill number 48, ordinance number 3609. Any further discussion on that motion? Okay, with that, the voting is open. All votes are cast, the voting is closed, and that passes unanimously. And that moves us into action number 4, and this is just the housekeeping item regarding annexation of these properties into the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District. So there are 2 of them, bill number 49, ordinance number 3610, and bill number 50, ordinance number 3611. So like I said, it's just housekeeping. This is standard, bringing these in once they're annexed into the city, getting them into the Municipal Irrigation District as well. So if there's no questions, if there are questions, Mr. McDonald is here. If not, do we have a motion for passage of these bills and ordinances?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilor Allgood.
I move for the passage of Bill number 49, ordinance number 3610, and Bill number 50, ordinance number 3611, annexing the subject parcels into the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
That's a motion from Councilor Allgood and a second from Councilor Stodick. Any discussion on that motion? With that, the voting is open. All votes are cast, the voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. Finance report.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Allgood.
I move that accounts payable in the amount of $2,026,531.99, represented by check numbers 178-465 through 178-770, and payroll for the amount of $706,843.74, represented by check numbers 39449 through 39466, and direct deposits be accepted, payments approved, and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So motion from Counselor Algen and a second from Counselor Register regarding acceptance of the finance report. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. So that moves us into council comments. Counselor Doty.
I think I'm good for now, tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Counselor Stoddard.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Register.
I'm going to take up all their time and mine. So a couple questions about parking that's come up. I did send in 28 questions to the city, and they were really good about getting back and answering those, but then some more questions came up. When is the veteran option going to go into effect?
So for the free parking
Yeah,
on that, so that is in effect.
okay, because I'm hearing that it's not working. If somebody wants to just double check on that.
So not working? Because they shouldn't have to input anything. They would just park.
They still have to put in their plate, though.
I do not believe so.
That's what they said, we said at the last meeting. I thought they said they still had to put in their plate.
Oh, because of the 3 hour, so that is possible. So yeah, we'll look into that because of the 3 hour limit.
Charging or whatever. And then several people have brought up the idea of changing it from 15 minutes free to 20. And I'm wondering if that can be something that we either discuss or do. It seems that as people are having to work the meters or the app or whatever, paying for it, then getting to their destination and back, that even like post office or someplace where they're just picking up something. So that's something that's been put out there.
Yeah.
And then we found out recently that DoorDash and delivery services, they can only park for free for 15 minutes in one block per day. So if they're picking up, like, say, from Chop Shop or Grit or whatever, then the Dasher can only park in that one block that one time, and then if they go back later, they have to park blocks away and use a different zone. So I don't know how that can be rectified, because that could be problematic for businesses as well as it, goes on. And then I think it was at the budget meeting, we asked for the org chart. Will that be coming to the next budget meeting?
Yes, that should be, so that is on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yes, we should have that ready by then.
Okay. Because I was sort of struck by some of the things that were talked about with the Golf Pro, and I'm wondering, they talked about hiring a new one, and I know there was discussion about a business manager or something, and were we going to discuss maybe turning one of those Golf Pro positions into a manager position? Like, is there a rush to hire a Golf Pro, or can that wait until we've had those budget discussions in case we can only do one or the other, or?
So as busy as they are, if it was the off season, I wouldn't say there was a rush, but where they're in the middle of their busiest time of year, it is pretty important that we do move forward with that position, so they're not stranded out there.
And then the other thing that I wanted to bring up was, can we schedule a time to have a discussion and an update about the amphitheater project? We haven't heard much about it since we had that one meeting about the RFP. And I think there may be some better options on a location, including over on Centennial by where the dog park is. And I'm wondering if we can have a discussion on whether or not that's something that's possible, is to use that area instead of the area by the rodeo and having whatever problems there in traffic or with the other agencies there. So something to consider if that's even a possibility. And then I was watching the Urban Renewal Board meeting the other day, and I noticed that one of the urban renewal commissioners stated that they don't live in Caldwell. And so I brought this to the attention of you and the council in an email and said that I would be bringing it here. I am aware that the code allows this, but I do want to go on record with my concern about a non-resident and even a non-business owner making multi-million-dollar decisions for taxpayers and using their money when they don't live here. I think it's a super bad look on the city of Caldwell. And I realize that the term for this particular person expires in July, but I guess what I'm curious about is if they moved if one of us moved as council members, we would have to resign because we have to be here in order to represent the interest of the people that we're representing in the community. And I don't know why that's any different with the urban renewal when they are making million-dollar decisions using taxpayer monies. I think they should live here. Whether the code says so or not, I just feel like we should have a precedence that says that they should live here as they represent the people here. Having a Nampa resident making those decisions for Caldwell residents, in my opinion, is not acceptable. So I hope that when this term expires, which is coming up here in just a few weeks, that that's considered as well. And I'm sure there are plenty of Caldwell residents or business owners that would be happy to take that spot and have some interest here. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, thank you so much. Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, just an update, last night's meeting with the Historic Preservation Commission was super exciting. And Morgan, correct me if I'm wrong, you were there. They spent 6 hours recording with Chuck Randolph. And what is being put together is really stellar. It will be kind of a recorded audio for people that want to learn about some of the stuff, even not just the Studenberg district, but other parts of the city. It is really exciting what that commission is doing. And again, volunteers and people that have a real interest and a keen desire in maintaining, especially the Studenberg district, but all of the historicity of the city of Caldwell. But that's up and coming, and I'm looking forward to it. And I think you probably are too. Bless you. Number two, just real quickly, Mayor, twice, is there anything going on with the 10th Street Bridge?
Mr. McDonald? And just on the 9th Avenue, that's the first I've ever heard of that, so I'm pretty positive there's nothing happening at 9th. I wonder if it's just because we know of the quiet zone, and so obviously people say different things as it gets traveled down the line, but nothing's happening at 9th Avenue other than the quiet zone. And then 10th Avenue, Rob, you can touch.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I heard a lot of strange things tonight about bridges and crossings. So 10th Avenue has some spalling underneath that has to be repaired. They're not rebuilding the 10th Avenue Bridge over the railroad. They're just going to be doing some work underneath to fix some of the concrete. And one of the bearing plates is out of order. On Kimball, over Indian Creek, there is a bridge that's going to be replaced, and it's that bridge where the gazebo is. That is just starting design right now, and that's a federal project that the city does not have to pay. The city has zero cost share on that project, and so we took advantage of that. That bridge is deficient, and that will have an impact on downtown, but I'm expecting that it'll be very localized to just where that crossing is in the gazebo area. And just so you know, ITD is doing a lot of work on the interstate, and there will be impacts on the 10th Avenue Bridge, the interstate bridge going over 10th Avenue, on and off for the next foreseeable future. Now, there shouldn't be any major closures, but there will be times where they have to close for short periods to be able to do that work. Those are the only bridge projects I'm aware of in this area.
Perfect, thank you. I heard just this morning, and correct me if I'm wrong, monies that we, as the council, allocated for the quiet zone were not redistributed to another project, were they? I don't know why I'd be hearing that, but I just want to confirm that that didn't happen.
Mr. McDonald, it's like it should be, and it depends, I mean, we don't know what the cost is going to be coming in, but I know that it's moving forward, and I think that the estimate has been received, or where are we at in that process?
So we had budgeted in 2024 for the quiet zone, and it was like 4.4 million. And this was back when we didn't know if we were going to be doing it or not. We're clearly not doing any of that work in 2024, so we've canceled that out. We're in the process now. We went out for an RFQ for consultants. The most qualified consultant we have began negotiation for, and their consultant, their fee to do the initial concept design work is $170,000. And so that's quite a bit more than what our original estimate was 6 months ago with the first consultant that we had talked to. I've been talking with Bruce Mills in-house, and there's a chance that we may actually pull that in and do that in-house and try to get through that concept phase. Bruce today was able to talk to some members from the Federal Railroad Administration, and one lady in particular that's over Idaho that is very helpful. That was very helpful today and answered a lot of his questions, and she encouraged him to look at maybe pulling that in-house, and so we are looking at that. And that will be the concept design. There will still be some design work that has to happen on the roadways, some median work and things like that. Once we know what the requirements are for the quiet zone and getting through all those hoops. The most difficult part is going to be working with the railroad, Union Pacific.
Right.
But if we can get to where we're meeting and complying with all the requirements, then that gets a little bit easier.
Perfect. But the $5 million that this council budgeted is still earmarked and preserved for that project in its entirety?
Yeah, so it was budgeted in 2024, and we have pushed that forward into future years so that when we think the project's going to be happening, we would be using those funds at that time.
So, Mayor, City Council, I will say not in its entirety. And the reason for that is in January, you guys approved a resolution to move 1.6 million of that project cost to match the rodeo in building a speaker box.
Okay. All right. And then finally, Mr. Mayor, and I'll be done. You and I had a nice visit on Friday, and I just kind of want to go on record saying I appreciate the efforts you're making specifically to, let me say, restore decorum in this chamber. We've had some unfortunate interactions, and I appreciate the fact that this council exists to ask questions, that this council was elected in order to be the body that has spirited discussions up here. But there needs to be the respect and the decorum, and especially when we're being presented with something from staff, that we have the ability and the authority to interact and ask. And I know it's your desire to maintain that proper etiquette and decorum, and it's a beautiful chamber. And I think now that we're starting in here, I appreciate your ongoing efforts to ensure that, so that if I'm asking the question of someone, I can expect an appropriate response. And again, thank you for your time and willingness to discuss that with me.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that. Councilor
Mr.
Alder.
Mayor, may I just add one comment to the train issue? I know I'm down this way now, and it's a long ways, but some negotiations with the county, have they agreed to help with the train whistle issue, or where are we at with that?
We do not have anything in writing. I know, and this was several months ago, so it'd be good for us to probably follow up with them, where they had indicated a desire to help at that time. Again, that was 6 months, maybe a year ago. And that would be specific to the, get my street right here, 12th Avenue, that does front the courthouse, on that, of sharing some of the cost on that. So we had some verbal kind of head nods on that, but nothing in writing. So we'll follow up with that and make sure that's still a possibility there for that. So thank you for that reminder on that. Councilor Allgood.
Nothing tonight, sir. Thank you.
And Councilor Dittenberg. Nothing. Okay, very good. So just say again, it's great to be here in this new building, in this new room. Appreciate it. I hope the people at home that are watching appreciate it as well, because I'm sure it's a lot better quality. They can hear and see what's going on. So just glad to be here. And with that, we stand adjourned.